Hello everybody, welcome to my lovely set and my review of Miss Marvel Season 1. I'm going to do as I've done for my past reviews, just do a brief rundown of the characters, what I liked, and then I'll get into minor spoilers at the end. So let's start off with Kamala. I think Iman Vellani, who plays Kamala, is probably the best find for a character in the MCU, for an actor, since Tom Holland, perhaps. She's incredible. Like, not that the acting is out of this world, but she so is Kamala. Like, I didn't even really have much experience with this character before the show, but immediately I was engaged, and I could tell she was engaged, and she loves this. Anybody who doesn't know the story behind her casting, she actually wasn't an actress before this. This is her first role, and she didn't plan on becoming an actress, but she loves the MCU, and that really comes through in the character, and that's how she got the role. And that's kind of part of the fun of the character, is sort of we're in this post-Endgame world where everybody is a fan of the MCU now. It's not a niche thing anymore. It's not cool to like Marvel. Like, everybody likes Marvel. They make the most money. So they incorporate that into the character. In the first episode, she goes to AvengerCon, and because she loves the Avengers, she loves Captain Marvel, if you didn't know. Partially where she gets her name from eventually. Pardon me. So I think she's great, and I cannot wait to see her continue. We already know that she's going to be in the Marvels, the sequel to Captain Marvel, alongside Captain Marvel and whatever they're calling Monica Rambeau's character, whether that be Photon or whatever. Kamala's family is probably the biggest positive beside Kamala of the series. I think the parts of the show that I enjoyed the most was the history and the culture of it all. The superheroic sort of came second, and that's kind of what you want at this point. You want to get to know these characters more, and you want, well, for me anyway, you want to get to know their world more, and not just see punchy, fighty, because that's boring, to be honest. I'd happily just watch a superhero movie with two superheroes talking. One of my favorite episodes of the Daredevil show is when Daredevil and Punisher are having a philosophical debate on the rooftop. So yeah, they really show their Muslim culture in a way that I hadn't seen before, and it's very light and very fun. I learned a few things along the way. I'm still definitely in the sort of, I don't know too much about it, but like there's a whole wedding sequence, and it's full of love, and everybody loves each other, and they really show that, which is something we don't always get in these MCU properties. They're all very self-serious, and they don't take the time to show you that these characters enjoy being around each other, and they really cherish each other. So that's that. Next up is Bruno, played by Matt Lintz, I believe his name is. Bruno is Kamala's best friend. She's her guy in the chair, her Ned, for lack of a better term, but way better than Ned from Spider-Man, in my opinion. For those who didn't know, Matt Lintz was actually in the running to be Peter Parker back in the day when they were casting Tom Holland, and you can feel that in his performance. He's really put that Peter Parker into it, and it's great. And he probably would have been a great Peter Parker if it turned out that way. But I really enjoy his character. He's he's a semi love interest for Kamala, but they don't lean too hard on that. He's not like, always gawking at her. He's very funny. He's his own character, and he's not just there to be Kamala's guy in the chair, pretty much. Next up, the villains of the show. We've got Kamran, who is another love interest of Kamala's. She has 3 in this show, more in my opinion. Kamran is sort of the new hunk in school, and it's quickly revealed that there's more to him than meets the eye, really. And the clandestines are the villains of the show. I will say they initially present as friends, and they very quickly turn into villains, like at the drop of a hat almost, and it's very sudden and kind of out of nowhere. Once you've seen the whole season, it's sort of a little more explained, but I think, especially with episode 5, what their full motivation and where they come from, and why they're so adamant about getting to Kamala and sort of using her for their means. I definitely probably could have used some of that information further up front in the season just to make the turn less jarring, but they were very basic, I'll say. But that being said, because they devoted less time to the villains, they give more time to developing Kamala Khan and her friendship group and her world. So if that's the sacrifice they have to make, that's fine. I don't see why they couldn't have added an extra 2 episodes to maybe. They're really adamant about this 6-episode thing. There's probably a time constraint thing for them because they're just pumping these fucking shows out like nobody's business. But I probably could have used a little more, but I'm not too upset. Another group we get introduced to is the Red Daggers. We see them briefly in episode 4. Episodes 3 and 4 are kind of the laggy, saggy part of the show, which they tend to be in these Marvel shows. But this was sort of a cool new side of the world. We see their sort of shadow organization. They're very good at fighting. You don't get to know too much more about them. They're very reminiscent of the Ten Rings, except not as big. I'm interested to see if they develop them more in the second season, perhaps, or some other property. We don't really know where Phase 4 is going at the moment. But that was a fun little addition. And the other villain-ish organization kind of thing is the Department of Damage Control, returning from the Spider-Man movies. Now, they bring back that one agent from No Way Home who's interviewing Peter and his friends, and he seems to be a boss of sorts, but I'd like to know a little bit more about their sort of hierarchy structure and what specifically their goal is, because initially it was to sort of clean up the damage that the Avengers and heroes cause, and now they're being a little more proactive and sort of trying to stop heroes from damaging things before it even happens. So, and seemingly targeting young heroes because they think they can't control themselves, which is fair, but it's a very black and white view of the whole situation, so I'd like to get a little more information surrounding them. I'm going to head into minor spoilers, so for anybody who doesn't want to hear them, I won't give away too much, but I'll say, before I get into them, definitely go ahead and watch this show. I know a lot of people have been sleeping on it, and that's the term I'd use. You're sleeping on this show because it is one of the best. Maybe not as inventive as WandaVision or Loki, but far more unique than any of the other generic Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Hawkeye, etc. kind of shows that they've been pumping out. So it uses the comic book structure and illustrations and sort of edging and drawing around the frame and like sketching characters and stuff like that in a really fun way. It really loves what it is. It's from the guys who made Bad Boys for Life, which in my opinion is the best Bad Boys movie. And they're going to be doing the Batgirl movie, so I'm very excited about that. And they just bring a really fun, energetic flavor to the show. So please watch it because, not that Marvel needs help, but this is, I think, the least watched show that they've brought out. I know some people have issues watching female characters. Wow, it's a fucking good show, so go watch it. Now, spoiler territory. Episode 5 was probably my favorite episode. It got into the backstory of Aisha, who is Kamala's great-grandmother, and while some people would say that the time travel element of this episode kind of breaks the rules of time travel that they set up in Endgame, I don't give a fuck. Who cares? There's so many contradictions in this universe at this point, so it doesn't really matter. But it was definitely the most touching the whole Trail of Stars thing that they had been teasing throughout the show. I didn't expect the payoff to be as emotional as it was. It had me in tears, honestly. And it's in this episode that we get more information about Najma and the clandestines, the villains of the show, and their motivations and what happened with them and Aisha, because Aisha, Kamala's great grandmother, was initially part of this organization because they are in fact jinn or genies, but that's a very generic term. They're from another realm essentially, and they just want to get home, which is understandable. But the way they sort of wrap that whole thing up eventually is kind of glossed over. Would have liked a bit more. Again, that's my main issue of the show, but it's really not a big issue. Just another episode or two would have really helped to flesh out things a bit. Sorry, again, more. And quickly touching on the finale, we get it revealed that Kamala. Actually, before I get into that, sometimes this show felt like they needed to get to the final fight, and the way they get there with Kamran's character in the last episode, with him sort of losing control, I didn't totally buy it. It felt like they were just sort of pushing them in the direction to have a big confrontation so Kamala could save the day. And while that was good for Kamala and progressing her character, I feel like they sort of gave Kamran the short end of the stick, but they leave him alive and send him to the Red Daggers, so there's potential for more. Now we get it revealed that Kamala, earlier in the season, it's teased the power band that she has isn't actually the source of her power. It's sort of just harnessing it and helping her bring it out. But the source of her power is within her. And in the final scene, it's revealed that not everyone in her family has this power within them. And in fact, it is a mutation in her genes, essentially giving us the biggest tease for mutants in the MCU and the X-Men. So that's one reason to watch the show. It's got us the closest to mutants that we've been so far. And the post-credit scene features Carol Danvers. Kamala and her seem to sort of switch places in the universe. Kamala zaps away as Carol Danvers zaps in. So it's a great little tease for the Marvels. Coming, I think, May next year, something like that. So, in conclusion, you should watch this show. If you're an MCU fan, it's really underrated. And there's no better word for it than that. Aman Vellani's excellent, and I cannot wait to see sort of more from this, which is something I can't exactly say for all the MCU shows. Some of them I watch, and movies as well. Some of them I watch and go, okay, cool. This one I was very interested to see where it went and see more and keep up with it. So I really dug it. That's my review. Like it, share it. Do all that stuff for me. Help me become a voice in this space of discussing film and television, because it's something I really love and put a lot of thought and effort into. I spend most of my days thinking about this type of shit, so please, it would mean a lot for me. Thanks for watching.